$11 billion in food benefits were overpaid during 2022. And now one senator wants to force low-income Americans to give it all back. In a recent video, I told you about how the Social Security Administration is clawing back billions of dollars in overpayments from low-income seniors and people with disabilities. And now it looks like the federal government wants to do the same thing with food stamps. Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa is on a mission to get all of that money back. She's introduced a new bill called the Snapback Inaccurate SNAP Payments Act. Now, if you read her press release, she claims that she wants to help low-income families by making sure the money gets where it needs to go. She claims that over $1 billion is wasted on SNAP every single month, and that 7 states are intentionally manipulating their data to pocket over $60 million for their state government. Now, I understand her concerns. I really do. When you look at the data, it is alarming. The federal government overpaid $3.4 billion in 2019. We don't have data for 2020 or 2021 because the federal government told states not to worry about reporting that during the pandemic. To see that number almost triple to $11 billion in 2022 is scary. That's a lot of money. But is it fair to go after the low-income Americans who receive those benefits? After all, the New York Post points out that nearly 80% of those improper payments were the result of government error. That means that the people who received the extra money did nothing wrong. They weren't scheming or trying to get overpaid. They probably didn't even know it was happening. It may have happened to you, and you might not even know it. Nevertheless, Senator Ernst's proposal instructs states to recollect SNAP overpayments. In fact, she specifically wants to add a line to the law that says each state agency shall seek to recoup any overpayments of benefits made to benefit recipients. That means that even though the New York Post said that the senator wants states to pay back that overpaid money, and even though that's technically true, the states are then going to be instructed to get that money from you, the low-income men, women, and children who rely on that program to buy food. That's not all that Senator Ernst wants to change either. The current rules say that states don't have to report or worry about repayments that are less than $55 over per person. But her new proposal drops that number to 0. Any amount overpaid, even if it were mere pennies, would need to be reported and recollected, and that is a big administrative burden. Now, of course, I understand that overpayment means that somebody got something that they weren't entitled to, but I also can't get over the fact that the government knows that almost 80% of those overpayments were the result of their own government error. That means that approximately 8 out of 10 low-income people who would be forced to pay the government back didn't do anything wrong. They're already struggling to eat. They don't deserve that additional hardship, and it really doesn't make sense because there are so many bigger issues like rampant theft and paperwork backlogs that need to be dealt with first. Anyway, right now this is just a proposal, but it's an important one to watch. The government extended the deadline on that farm bill, but they have to pass one soon, and that bill governs all of the major food benefits programs in America, including SNAP and WIC. Leaders on both sides of the aisle are going to have to negotiate and work together to come up with a resolution, and that means that there will be a lot of debate around ideas like this, and this is one proposal that could have a devastating impact on millions of low-income Americans. In the meantime, the Census Bureau survey shows that nearly half of all SNAP recipients are skipping meals already because they can't afford food right now. And these are the same people that Senator Ernst wants to take that money away from. Now, of course, there are other lawmakers in the federal government who are trying to make it easier to get and use food benefits. The Streamlining Nutrition Paperwork Act of 2023 would make it easier for people to apply for food benefits over the phone. The 2023 Restore Act would make it possible for people to get food stamps again after a felony drug conviction, since some states put lifetime bans on people with those records. The USDA has also authorized another 3,000 school districts to provide free breakfast and lunch to all students, and of course, the annual cost of living increase takes effect this month, which will also increase the amount of SNAP payments you receive. Some states are also doing what they can to ease this. A lawmaker in the New York Assembly has proposed a bill that would increase the minimum SNAP benefit in New York to $95 a month, just like what New Jersey has already done. Texas recently enacted a new rule that drastically increased the vehicle asset limits so that more people could be eligible for help. Arkansas is pushing for the federal government to allow people from the Marshall Islands to get food stamps because they're currently excluded for some reason, even though the U.S. allows lawfully admitted permanent residents, refugees, asylees, and immigrants from other areas to get those benefits. There is good news out there, and there is progress being made, even if it might not always always look like it. The government is also making progress towards stemming the flood of EBT thefts that have skyrocketed in recent years. For example, Michigan recently received a $750,000 grant to help prevent, detect, and investigate fraud. California is launching a new app called EBT Edge next year. This app will allow EBT users to change their PIN, block online or out-of-state transactions, and even freeze their cards. The goal is to give people more control over their cards so that they can stop that theft before it happens. The state has also confirmed that they are working on putting chips in the cards, but there isn't an established timeline for that yet. And while we're on this subject, it's worth noting that EBT Edge app is already available in some other states. It also feels like the government is more actively prosecuting food stamps fraud recently. There are so many headlines about people who have been caught skimming or trafficking in food stamps. For example, the owner of an Atlanta market named Big Daddy's Discount Meat recently pled guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud after it was found that he had paid roughly 50 cents on the dollar to buy $10 million in food benefits from his customers. A woman from Milwaukee was charged with money laundering after she appeared to confess to buying and selling food stamps on Judy Justice, the new version of Judge Judy's courtroom drama show. After the episode aired, so many people complained to the state that it led to her prosecution. A mother in Guam was recently sentenced to time in prison after lying about how many children were living in her home. She had received more than $56,000 in benefits that she should not have received and will now spend 11 months in prison for that. And then, of course, there's the skimmers. More than 18,000 claims for stolen EBT benefits were filed in New York City alone last month. That's 18,000 drained EBT accounts in one city in 1 month. That is insane. To try to keep up with all of this, of course, many states are turning to artificial intelligence and other technology tools. Many states are hoping to use AI and bots to process their paperwork, but there are some people who think that that's a bad idea. This battle is currently being waged in Georgia, where there is still a huge SNAP backlog that is forcing people to wait many months to get their benefits. The state is pushing for AI and bots that can help process the paperwork, but federal regulators have said that testing has shown that bots make things worse by increasing the error rate and causing other issues that take a long time to resolve. Georgia's not alone in that fight, though. New York is also having a hard time keeping up with demand. Their state only processes about 40% of food benefits applications on time, and for cash benefits, they process less than 30% on time. That means a lot of people are waiting a long time for the benefits they qualify for, and that creates a serious hardship. As Deborah Berkman from the New York Legal Assistance Group said, slow processing times lead to evictions. These statistics aren't just numbers, guys. They represent real people who need help, and sometimes those delays can lead to life-altering consequences. This is a huge problem, and it's the main reason that I don't support Senator Ernst's Snapback Inaccurate SNAP Payments Act. How on earth can the federal government expect the states to dedicate the time and resources to recalculate and recoup all of that overpaid money when those same agencies cannot process the benefits for families who do need it right now, or stop the rampant fraud that is stealing food from hungry children and seniors in our country? The states can't keep up with the paperwork and requirements they already have, and the demands in this new proposal would only make things worse. It makes no sense to me. Yes, overpayment is a problem, and yes, it should be fixed, but we need to make sure that people can eat first. I'm sorry. It really bothers me. So let's move on to something else, because I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and I am so sorry. Here's something you can be excited about. More than $1 million in discounts have been given to EBT users who visited the Greensboro Science Center in North Carolina alone. I love reporting on these discounts because so many of you send me pictures and stories of your family having great adventures, and I love seeing that. Anyway, this month I found 20 new discounts across 13 states. We've got 3 in California, 3 in Colorado, 2 in Florida, 2 in Kentucky, 2 in Virginia, and 1 each in Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Maine, Michigan, New York, North Carolina, and Texas. Of course, no matter where you are, you can always find the full list of over 1,000 EBT discounts nationwide at lowincomerelief.com/EBT. And speaking of discounts, the Providers app has partnered with Papa Murphy's to offer exclusive coupons to EBT shoppers. The Providers app can help you monitor your EBT and other benefits balances. Users who live in Washington, Oregon, and California should be able to see those new offers within the app. Now, of course, Providers isn't the only app that wants to serve EBT customers either. Uber Eats has recently announced that they will start accepting SNAP benefits next year. They also intend to start accepting flex spending cards like those offered through many Medicare Advantage plans. Now, with open enrollment season just around the corner, it starts a little later this month, I am expecting to see some aggressive marketing around that idea, so please be careful out there. Always consult with an impartial expert before you make changes to your healthcare plan, because those flex spending cards and grocery cards and other incentives they offer are usually just bait to get you to sacrifice the quality of your healthcare. But that's a topic for another video, so let's move on. Many parents have been confused by the sudden arrival of unexpected P-EBT cards in the last few weeks. For example, James Fanning of Champaign, Illinois, received 2 cards, including one for his son, who had already graduated and gone off to college. The letters that came with the cards didn't provide any information other than instructions to call a number to get a PIN. James wasn't the only one who was confused, so the state released an announcement explaining that these cards contained benefits for the 2022-2023 school year. In other words, the school year that ended back in May and June. If you received an unexpected P-EBT card, it was probably for a previous period in which your child was already eligible, but you should be able to contact the state to confirm that information. And again, if the states can't issue those benefits on time, I don't know why we would want to burden them with more paperwork that's only going to make it harder for people to get the food that they need. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Be sure to go check out our most recent video for more low-income news you need to know. I hope this helps, and I'll see you again soon.